Hi, everybody. We've just had a webinar about the topic Agile development in SAP. I didn't like the recording a bit. It was way too messy, and I wanted to record it again because I think that this topic is very, very important. However, since the demo was very, very authentic with questions and stuff, I will actually merge them together, and you'll benefit a full-scale webinar. So without further ado, let's move to the presentation. I will share my screen with your permission. So, Agile development in SAP. What do we have on the agenda? So today I'm going to talk about Agile development in SAP. Since I attended way too many webinars with the same name, I will start with clarifying what this webinar is not about. Then I will try to make sure we're all on the same page as far as SAP development is concerned, both at SAP side and at its customer side. I will then talk about Agile development in general, referring to the Agile Manifesto. And quickly enough, I hope to convince you all that it's almost impossible to follow the manifesto guidelines in SAP projects running by its customers. Instead of squaring the circle, trying to change the manifesto or the reality, I will change the paradigm. I will try to break the Gordian knot, so to speak, by changing the way SAP projects are handled at customer sites. And inside SAP is such a platform. We will then go through a short demo, as explained, and I will give you an idea regarding the 10x change that this platform offers. I will then scan roughly a few projects that were handled this way, stressing the scope and the timeline. I know it's not often done, but in that case, I have an excuse for throwing my resume at the very beginning. I need it in order to prove you all that I'm going to talk about topics I know of. This topic is not theoretical one. One cannot read 2 books, listen to a few podcasts, and then come up with a conclusion and a solution thereafter. In order to shed some light on the process of Agile development at SAP customer side, one must first acknowledge the uniqueness in all terms of these projects. From the other end, one must understand how SAP itself operates in terms of development and Agile development. Lastly, one must be able to change the way things go. Thus, in order to be able to solve such a problem deep down, one must have multiple personalities concurrently. One should be a bit SAP, a bit its customers, and a bit entrepreneur. I started my SAP way back in 1998 when I quickly became SAP Labs Israel Development Manager. During this period, we have developed the task and resource management, the TRM, the execution layer for logistics. I then managed the ABAP development at a consulting firm here in Israel. And then I founded and co-founded the Comano Labs, and Dipro. While the first 2 companies provide professional services around SAP, the latter develops complementary products for the SAP world. All in all, I've taken active part in all important junctions between SAP and its customers. I call it ABAP in substandard. I call it ABAP at customer side. I call it ABAP in products used by hundreds of thousands of SAP users. I've done it all. Thus, I feel comfortable to freely speak about the term development at SAP customer side should and must take. So what this webinar is not about. Many articles, talks, and webinars were given on the topic of Agile development at SAP customer side. In many cases, the idea boils up to one of 3. Explaining time and time again the various agile methodologies. Words like sprints, Scrum Master, and Kanban board will then be thrown out there as if the words themselves may force the change. Agile methodologies are the aim, they are not the goal. In case the topic is not the methodologies themselves, then one of two happens. The speaker will try to force Agile Manifesto onto SAP customers' development projects by talking about 2-week sprints and daily stand-up meetings with all project stakeholders. In other cases, speaker will try forcing SAP onto the Agile Manifesto, yielding sprints released to QA, or adding Scrum Master to the process. Just to make sure we are all on the same page. In some projects, change requests, CRs, are shipped to production once a month. Think of it as a clock that ticks once every month. If you fail to ship your changes in that tick, you must wait for the next one in a month. In addition, the business end user, the one that everything starts from, has a day job. She was not trained to be product, okay, to do product. And she has no time to meet daily for months and months when a daily work keep piling up, let alone production problems that need their attention, immediate attention, with much higher priority than attending those meetings. This is why I would like to spare precious minutes on bringing us all to the same place in terms of the needed background. I will try to depict the way things take place at the SAP side and at its customer side. So, about SAP. SAP was founded back in 1972 when 5 IBM employees suggested to develop one system to manage them all: financial institutions, factories, and distribution centers alike. The idea was not well absorbed at IBM, and shortly after, SAP has started its way in inventing the enterprise resource planning space. With the tagline, "The company in the business of helping businesses," this software company took the high-end market by storm. SAP employs many developers who keep on developing the entire suite of products. Like many software companies, SAP operates in hierarchy with development teams which are built of organic domain experts and fully dedicated team members. And when I say fully dedicated, I'm referring to people that this is their job. The day-to-day job is to develop new things. Each project uses product manager, QM team, development manager, developers, and an army of testers. It all makes sense given the fact that this is what SAP is doing for a living, produces software, and apparently SAP excels at it. So let us now move to SAP customers. However, when we talk about SAP customers, the picture takes a 180 degrees turn. SAP customers are not software companies. At least they do not code ERP systems for a living. Companies running SAP onboarded SAP in the first place to be able to concentrate on the core businesses. ERP software projects are not their forte. However, due to the nature of SAP, which is built of heavy local customization, SAP customers are forced to code. Yet since ERP software is not their purpose, the project team are quite often ad hoc assembled. For example, often the request for change is coming from the business. Different business end users need different things, and when modification is requested, the requester business end user will be part of the project team. Let us concentrate on this team member for a second. This business end user was not trained to be part of the development team. It's an on-the-job training for him or for her, let alone the fact that being a member in that team is just added on top of a daily stress workday. So let's take a look at the life cycle of an SAP project at customer sites across roles, systems, and time. It all starts with a request originated from the business. Usually the request is accompanied by a requirement document. The business end user will have a short session with the implementer in order to show the latter the changes needed in the system itself. Everything is explained on the production system, the natural living environment of the business end user. Next in line is the implementer, who uses a specification document to depict the changes needed to take place in SAP. This document is handed over to the developer who lives in the development system. The developer codes the needed changes into the system. Upon completion, the code is moved by change request by CRs to the quality assurance system for further testing, right? The quality assurance habitat, the home of the testers, is where tests are taking place. Here usually starts a ping pong when the tester reports a problem in the newly developed software, and the developer fixes them. Okay. Each correction is manifested in yet another change request until the tester rest assured with development quality. The implementer then roughly checks the things in quality assurance, and if all is good, the entire thing with all relevant change requests is moved to production system when the change is finally presented to the business end user. These four roles have almost nothing in common. They live in different systems, they come from different backgrounds, they speak different languages, and they confront different challenges. That's why everything must be documented. The implementer translates the language of business into SAP specification document. The developer translates the specification into ABAP code, and the tester translates the use cases into SAP test scenarios. All in all, this process should take a couple of weeks to a couple of months. So now let's talk about customer side development, or what makes SAP development so unique. Generally speaking, the following aspects characterize the local development of SAP: development teams, working profile, content, and technology. Let's walk through them. So teams. As said, the minimum number of possible roles in each development is 4, which includes the business end user, SAP implementer, ABAP developer, and a tester. Each actor understands well a specific part of the big picture and is equipped with a particular toolkit to fit the task. Process-wise, the implementer is the glue between the business end user and the ABAP developer. The implementer bridges the business problem domain with the solution in SAP ERP. In some organizations, usually the big ones, ABAP developers are organized by business area, usually mapped onto SAP modules. Still, in most cases, the same ABAP developers serve various business areas. Working profile. The average day of the development team may vary dramatically between developing new features, handling infrastructures, or handling urgent project issues. The more code added to the system, the more support is needed. And content. So 50 years of massive development at the SAP side forces sub-development teams at the customer side to handle codes from many generations in many areas. Nothing is removed. Code from the early days of R2 resides along with the code that was just developed for the S4 systems. Let's check the world of user exit, for example. The same ABAP developer must master at least 4 different user exit, so to speak, models. The names were changed, but the concept remains. Started from the old exit in an SAP code, which turned into user exit, as we remember them, followed by the object-oriented bodies, and finally, the enhancement framework. Each uses different coding techniques and implementation guidelines, yet all coexist in the system. By the same token, even the most straightforward ABAP list viewer, the ALV report, found in the organization may take the shape of one of 5 different generations of ALV, starting from the designated function module and ending with the S/4HANA specific ALV framework. The same applies to technology. Step by step, SAP added numerous additional components to the core ERP system. So in terms of form, for example, 3 different technologies to form layouts could be found in the system: Subscript, Smart Forms, and Adobe Forms. And if the company invested in third-party products like Barcode or Bartender, then you have to add those to the list. BRF, SAP introduced internal and external business rule framework, and it was changed in S4 again. So to summarize this part, we will know that in SAP, nothing replaces nothing. Everything is still alive and kicking in the system. And the same ABAP developer must know more and more and more. It would take either a Superman or ABAP dinosaur to confront the above challenge. Let's take a sharp turn and discuss agile development in general. The actual definition of agile could be found in the 20 years old Agile Manifesto. The manifesto clarifies that agile isn't a methodology, a specific way of doing software development, or a framework. Agile development is a set of values and principles, a collection of beliefs that team can use for making decisions about how to do the work of development software. If one genuinely understands agile, it is a flexible and productive way to get the software development process more flexible and effective. Let's read a few of the principles of the Agile Manifesto. We will refer to them later on when we will talk about developing at customer side. So principle 1, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Principle number 2, welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Principle number 4, business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Principle number 5, build projects around motivated individuals, give them environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Following the Agile way means making many decisions based on the principles and values that the team has decided to follow. Therefore, simply mimicking another team's actions and practices will not make an agile team. So now let's talk about agile development in SAP. Whoever spends some time developing SAP at customer side will find it almost impossible to implement the 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto. Think of development teams with nearly nothing in common: business end user, implementer, developer, and a tester. On one hand, the business end user, the one with the requirement, usually doesn't have access to the development system where all development takes place. End users are extremely busy and their real job, so to speak, could be buying or invoicing or production planning, still awaits them. Okay, on the other hand, ABAP developers couldn't care less about the business process. ABAP developers are there merely because implementers do not know how to code. As stated before, testers make sure that the code resolves the requirements specified by the business end user and articulated by the implementer. However, in most cases, testers do not know how to read code and seldom cover the entire code with the test. Hence, for testers, spotting weaknesses at the code level is almost impossible, out of the question. These are bad news since ABAP developers write new code, which can badly influence other mission-critical processes. We were left with the implementers, who practically drive SAP projects. The implementers orchestrate the entire process. They get the requirements from the business end users, and they translate them to meaningful specifications for the developers, ultimately making sure that the requirements are met. However, implementers are pretty limited in their ability to execute. Implementers are caught in the middle, always. They bridge between business end users' requirement and development abilities. They bridge between SAP, the company, and the organization in terms of what can be and cannot be done in SAP, the software, of course, and mitigating problems with the SAP support team. Implementers also bridge between business and IT internally. The first group requires A, while the latter can deliver A minus. The implementers often work on several projects in parallel. That's why in many cases, the quality of the development is heavily dependent on the ability of the implementer to constantly investigate, learn, and execute. How can one possibly think of agile development in such constellation? Actors that share different worlds, of content are assembled ad hoc for a specific task on top of the other tasks, yet are expected to collaborate flawlessly. So inside SAP is such a tool. It's a virtual layer that sits inside SAP. It is native to SAP. It is coded in ABAP, and it is SAP certified. So let's talk about the alternative. Inside SAP, formerly Rainbow SAP, is an SAP certified platform that significantly increases SAP users' ability to access, enhance, process, and share SAP assets. It was coded in ABAP and shipped using change requests. Inside the SAP platform allows to create full-fledged business processes in SAP directly on production without a line of code in a matter of hours and days rather than weeks and months. The platform allows implementers to elevate existing assets by adding layers of content, that's new columns, and presentation, coloring, grouping, and graphics. The outcome could be directly accessed by business end users and shared with collaborators in any format and media. This tool elevates reuse in SAP to another level. It takes things you already have, and it enables you to quickly and effectively extend them to fit your current needs. This way, any report or query could serve as a baseline for an SAP project, a dashboard or operational screen from which a business end user can do literally everything. The implementer can easily bring into this baseline every shred of information needed for the business end user, or alternatively, to allow business end users to navigate to any transaction or other report in a single click. The second thing is the implementer can organize the information in a better way and color code any meaningful information. And lastly, by adding toolbar functions, okay, the end user can select several records and manipulate them using puppies and other function modules. All is protected by SAP authorization layer. So let's talk about the proposed development process. With Inside SAP, the process is simplified tenfold. Inside SAP gives the implementers the power to talk with the system without code. So only two roles, actors, remain in the process. We have the business end user who talks with the implementer, okay, they negotiate and they actually do everything on the same system. So they both work on the same system and on the same data, okay? Now the business end user could collaborate with the implementer. Results could be viewed in minutes and hours. So we have the business end user truly influence the development process, making the time to market unprecedented. And what about the developers? Inside SAP takes off the developer's shoulder the most of the regular burden that they currently tangled with, allowing them to really develop, to develop ABAP-based applications or better Fiori-based applications, okay? And everything is done in hours and days. So let me shift into a system and let me show you how it's done. So people mock me for using ME2N, the purchase order line orders in my examples, but I feel comfortable with it because it actually stresses the fact that you can do everything with every transaction. So let me go into this transaction, ME2N. Okay, I will invoke it in SAP. I will pick a variant. Okay, 2012. And I will pick a layout. So this is SAP report that shows purchase orders that are open. This is nice. This is amazing. This is really helpful. But if I'd like to add columns or I would like to color something, I cannot do that. Okay, even this small issue of combining the vendor together with the name of the vendor, this could not be resolved. So let me show you what could be done using Inside SAP. So I'm turning Inside SAP and I will create a new one and I'm going to call the very same demo for ME2N. Okay, I'm picking that transaction, ME2N, and then I will pick the selection variant. And again, just like in the original transaction, I can find on the selection variants and I will pick up the display variant, and I'm picking demo, and I will invoke it. So just take a look about the outcome. So the outcome is exactly like the original, right? But this one is ours. It runs inside SAP context. And that's why I can now play around with this one. Okay, so let us try to change this net value, this net price, and to add 5% on top of this one, just because this is the value without the task. So I can just column, and I can copy it, and I can just use plus tax okay? And I will take this amount and I will multiply it by 5%. So this is the price. Oh, this is only the tax, right? I added. So just check it out. A new column was added. This column does not exist in the original one. Wait, I made a mistake. This is not the value plus the task. This is only the task itself, okay? So I can actually easily change it. The task, and I will, okay. And I can add another column with the amount total with tax. But what I want to show you is that I can create new columns inside this transaction. By the way, when I get out and I get in, the information will remain for me. Give me a second. What I'm doing here is I would like to show you the principles of what you can do, and then I will show you a full-blown solution, something that you can have in 20 minutes. So if I'm getting out and getting in back, this new simple column will stay in place. Let me just do something else before we will do things more complex. Okay, I'm going to create a new transaction for this one. We will call it Z demo. Okay. I created a direct transaction in SAP to call this newly created insight. So if I will open a new screen. I will get it like that. So this is what end users will eventually have. This is what they'll use. This is transaction. And now we have two things. First, users that have transaction code and new transaction code, and we have the creator who can now do the miracle needed. So let's just take a wild thing and let's split those two things into a vendor column. So I'm taking this one and I'm going to create a new column, and these are the types of supported columns. So we know how to do formula, input fields, long text, database lookup, table lookup, and aggregation. I will go for the formula because what I like to do is I would like to split this field into two. The field I like to use is going to be of type vendor, of course. Okay. And again, if I'm pressing enter, you'll see that everything comes automatically, the text and everything. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 8 leftmost characters of this field. How should I do that? Inside the exposes set of functions for you. And I guess that string is going to be the place to look for it. I will go for the left. The left means that you can take a few left characters. Let me take the character string I would like to cut short. It contained the word vendor, if I remember, vendor supplying plant. And I'd like to take the leftmost 10 characters. Okay, so now I will do something like that. And there you go. See? You have the vendor. By the way, it's not just vendor, it is a vendor. If I will double click it, it will navigate to the vendor. Okay, this is another vendor. And again, if it's a business object by SAP, by pressing the text, I will get the description of this vendor automatically. So I can avoid this one altogether because I have this one with me. Let me just save this one. So let me go back to our friend, okay? The one that actually uses a direct transaction. I will call it transaction again. And this is what the end users will see at the end, okay? They can navigate and everything. So I hope I established some baseline to show you that I can take every standard SAP transaction, every report, every query by you or by locally developed, and I can now manipulate them. I can add columns. I can color code things. I will show you how I can color code the specific record using the conditional formatting. But instead of doing that, let me just show you an example. This very example, okay, where it could be getting to. So I will take this one. I prepared an example for this demo. And again, check it out. This is exactly the same transaction, the same selection variant, and the same display variant. But with 20 minutes of work, this is what we accomplished. And this is a bit more wow than the previous one. So let me hook you back to both the example previously shown and the presentation. Okay, people says that there are questions. So let me open this session for a question. Whoever would like to say something, please raise your hand, and I will give you the ability to talk. Hi, Jen.
Hey, so the one question I had was about the T code. Like you created a kind of a view inside Insight, and then you were able to go to that with the T code, right?
Yeah.
That T code, is it like, do we have to go through security to assign it to users, or like how do we get that T code to the end users?
Great question, Kajan. So first, it's a specific transaction. It's transaction that you code in development. It is an inside code transaction. Let me show you in the system. I will go back and I will show you the transaction in a second.
Yeah, it's not this T code I'm talking about. It's the T code where you went straight to the I guess modified version. Yeah.
So the transaction we gave with the name demo and stuff like that. You can. It's just like any other thing, authorization in SAP. You can do whatever you'd like. If nobody will grant the end user the authorization to invoke this transaction, they will not be able to do that. So this is a whole chapter about how this product was built with authorization in mind. So everything you do inside Insight, you have to have authorization. So the end game, after you finish everything, after you finish doing whatever you like, then there's a session where authorization administrator will give the end users the authorization to do things, including the authorization to invoke this transaction and to press things, to press buttons and to navigate to places. But inside SAP will never allow more authorization than the user had already. Does this answer your question, Kajan?
Yeah, so once you create that view, you create a T code, but you still have to assign it to the user. Like the normal process is still there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that view is the correct word to match what we do. This is not really a view. What we do is as soon as I set up the original transaction, okay, inside SAP is calling that transaction in a dark mode. It calls it, but it doesn't show the result to the end user. Instead, it follows the instructions given by the creator, and then they show the result. So it's not a view in that sense, because it's a mashup of two layers, the original call and the instructions. But when I say original call, it could be either a report like this one, but it could be an Excel file. You can start everything from Excel, and you can do the very same things based on that Excel. You can add a navigation pan. You can add graphics. You can add the conditional formatting. You can publish everything in any way. Check this one out. I'm going to mark a few cells. I'm going to press this one. I'm going to use HTML in this case, okay, and that's it. And there's an email open down beneath, and you can send this one to people that need this information to fix things. But I really would like, and again, people said that there are questions. So if somebody, is it possible to pull columns from multiple reports? This is great question asked again by Kaijen. So yes, it is something amazing that couldn't be done in SAP, but could be done in Insight. We have something called snapshot. You can invoke one report in snapshot and then VLOOKUP it into another report. Okay. And again, we have Shai in the chat. Shai will help you and will answer questions in the chat. So let me just check again if there are any other questions. So if anybody would like to ask a question, this is a good timing.
That's actually not me. Is it somebody from our team, I guess, that has my name on it?
Yeah, there are two Kaijens. So okay. So second Kaijen, you can speak, you can talk. Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, this is Ashwini here.
Okay.
I just want to know, other than the arithmetic operation, can we write the code to pull some data? Example, now we are doing the purchase order. From like if I want data from the purchase requisition table or account assignment table, so can you write a code to create a new column?
Yes, but you don't need to write the code. Everything is done without code. Let me show you. In this one, you can see this example. You can see industry. The industry is not part of this report. It was created using a column of type DB_lookup. Okay. See, it goes to the vendor master data and it pulls the industry using the information from this report. So you don't need to write code in order to do DB lookups from any of SAP tables and your tables, Z tables as well. Does this answer the question?
Yeah, this is fine because you are directly taking the data from the standard tables. So in some cases, I got some requirement that at that time I have to write some code to manage to get the output. Is it possible somewhere?
Yes.
So we can write our own custom code?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, let me create a new column, and I will show you. I'm just picking formula. I will take just any data element. Okay. And now in the formula section, you can see that these are the things we are giving with the software. But over there, this is the customer, right?
Yes.
And in this place, you can write your own function module, formula function, okay? And you can see, you can add them, and then the users can, the creator can use them just like any other thing we provide. And again, you do that using the very same tools we do that. So you have your own class and methods, and you use them. It's pretty straightforward. But again, this is how you can add your own code inside SAP.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Would you like to so let me check again if there are more questions. So
I don't know if am I unmuted still? Hello?
You can speak if you'd like.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay. So the one question from our team was, if a person has access to Insight Creator, does he have access to all modules, or is it based on his native SAP access?
Another great question. So everything in SAP is split by something called groups. So not only you cannot access anything in SAP, you cannot access things within Insight depending on the group defined by your organization. Usually companies split their groups by modules. So they have if it's a small company, it's logistics, finance, and human resource. But in many cases, it's going to be asset accounting. It's going to be account receivable, account payable, and stuff like that. And these groups, people without authorization cannot see other people's insight or artifacts or anything. So on top of SAP authorization system, we have a way to make sure that people from one team will not see a thing belong to other teams. So if no question, there are no, let me just lower your hand. Okay, so again, feel free to ask me to do things, because the only thing I'm taking from the platform we came up with is that imagination is the only limitation. We can do so many things, and I will try to show you that this is really the thing. We have input fields. Can you see that? We added input fields onto the standard SAP report. We do not change the original transaction, of course. Okay. What we do again is, as soon as we added this layer, we can actually have input fields, and when we combine them together, we can see this information. It's really an amazing way to collaborate with people. So you can ask somebody to approve something, and as soon as they approve it, you know that you can, let's say, close delivery or do something. And again, if you notice, when I do something like that, the color of the entire row is changing its color. This was done because we added conditional formatting, which says if approved is equal X, then color it orange, right? Let me just close this one, and I will show you something here. Okay, you can actually specify, you can actually see the information by specific industry. Remember this field I've shown you before that I got from the DB lookup? Now I can split the information and show only specific type of records. Actually, I've nested the vendors, okay, beneath this one. So these are all the chemical industry, and beneath them, there are 5 records of this specific vendor and 1 record for this one. Everything I'm showing you could be done easily by using groups and stuff like that. Okay, to the right, and again, if this is not enough, you can actually add over here. You can add KPIs. Okay, I cannot show you the okay. This is the one also. So in the groups, right, you can see how I assembled those groups just by specifying a field that the information is going to be grouped by. But if I will add KPIs, you'll be able to see aggregated information in these columns. To the right, you can see graphics, okay? So you can see that it's rendered itself in the background. Okay, this one could be done using graphics. So one can add graphs and everything. So all in all, this is a very, very, very flexible platform that allows business end users and creators, usually implementers, to collaborate on the production system, okay, without code, in matter of hours and days. And at the end of the day, you have something that you can work with, okay? And again, it changed the paradigm, because we are not going through 3 months, 4 months projects. It's a week project, and it's ongoing, because end users keep asking for more and more, and the project is changing on the fly. And again, this is what agility is all about. I just do not understand how you can implement the Agile Manifesto while the end user lives in production, while the habitat of the developer is development system. Okay, they do not share anything. They do not have the same data. And when the tester is testing things, it is done in QA system, and the information, the data over there is different again from the thing that the business end user is familiar with. So all in all, it's almost impossible to gain agility when these 4 people are dispersed and have nothing in common. But when you bring such a platform, okay, and it's really secure because it is used as SAP authorization concept everywhere, then the magic happens. And let me just show you how easy is to publish such a thing. So I'll go back and see the system asked me to save. Remember, we changed things in the input fields. So I will take this one and I will just do something like that, and I will create inside publisher. Okay, and I'm going to just publish it. It's going to take me a second because I'm writing down whom I'm going to send it to. It's going to be mishan@test.com or something, and that's it. I'm doing nothing but that. And let me show you what happened. I will schedule it. This is the SAP scheduling system. This is the job scheduler. I can do that periodically, every week, every day, every month, but I'm not going to do that. And that's it. If I will open SAP mail client, this is what I get inside publisher. And this is what was attached to it. And again, it took me like a second, right? But I didn't really stress myself, because if I'd like to do something really nice, I can now in the next 30 seconds, I can first change the format from Excel to any of the allowed. Okay, JSON, XML, I will take XML. Because it's HTML, I can have it in the message body. Okay, I'm going to send, this is Mishan, this is your list. I'm going to add note, Mishan demo. This is standard text that I can okay. and I can even bring a logo. So I didn't find logo. I don't know. This is the one. So that's it. That sums my 30 seconds in trying to do something better than previous. And I'm scheduling this one yet again. And again, 30 seconds. This is what I spared on this change. Let me refresh. So Mishan, this is your list. Already we can see that it was changed. And Mishan, this is your list. This is the list HTML in body. You can see that everything is there. It's a long list, and we have the logo, Diplo's logo down below. And again, I can go like that for hours. I can split the records by vendor, sending each and every one of these vendors the relevant information. I can change the format of everything. I can send it as XML. I can do like million things. Everything is done in like 2-3 minutes, and that's it. So we have 5 more minutes, and I will open this session for questions if you have any. But well, I have to summarize everything, and I have a summary for everything. But if you have questions, this is more important. So it's either overwhelming or the concept was not well absorbed. And I think this is something I really come across many times. People, even when they see what we do, it takes a while to understand where something like that can go to. So just to give you an example of what can happen, remember this one? This is a simple SAP report about open POs. I can do with this thing, I can create new buttons. Can you see this toolbar function that can actually, I can select a few records and manipulate them using burpees behind this toolbar function. I can now, give me a second, I will look into my records. I wrote down a set of things I can do with it. So first, I can have a button for confirmation. So buyers can select a few records, press it, and then it will send emails for the vendors to confirm this month the POs. Then I can change delivery dates. Okay, using it, this one actually does the very same thing. So it will change delivery dates for purchase order. Then you can send emails to late arrivals, to vendors that didn't ship the products on time. Okay, then you can do something called POD. It's called proof of delivery. You just add a checkbox, so when the delivery gets into the factory, you can just press this one in case the PO, the purchase order, was arrived, and this will show that everything is in. Then you can send periodical a job to send the owners of the PO, and if they say that it was delivered, then you can mark delivery complete in the PO. So there are more questions. This is, can you do the report without referencing an existing code? You can start with ABAP query if you like. It's really easy. You can start from a database table. You can start from CDS. You can start from so many. Wow, this is a long question. My English is, oh, Shai is answering. So great. Anyway, as you probably understand, I can talk for hours and hours about the things this platform can do, but I really want to stress the topic we were gathered here to talk about. We were talking about agility. I do not find any other way to do agile development inside SAP other than working together with the business end users, where they feel like they influence the change. They feel that their voice is sound, and they can be understood, and whatever they like could be accomplished quickly enough so they'll be able to enjoy it. And when you do that, you have their commitment, because they know that after 2 days, their work is going to be much easier. So let's summarize the demo. My friends mock me for using ME2N too often. This is my default example. Yet I keep using it exactly because of this reason. Any other solid SAP transaction code will do. You can do almost everything. You can add new data columns. You can add charts. You can add groupings. You can add it all. Okay, all is done in production without code and in hours. And by the same token, we could take a SAP FBL5N customers line items and turn it into account receivable dashboard with aging information and everything. Actually, with a bit of imagination and a few days of work, the entire office of the CFO could be built with information from account receivable, account payable, bank data, and others. A few months ago, we had a webinar with the title "Become an SAP Hero in Your Organization." We showed what could be accomplished in 8 months by a single implementer. Let's walk quickly through the list, and I will show you 1 or 2 examples with more details. So, converting plan orders into production orders or to purchase requisition, proof of delivery, and the list goes and goes. Let me just show you how the plan orders to production orders dashboard would look like. So the goal is to bring all supporting information to one place to mass convert planned orders to production orders. So to the left, you can see the grouping information to make it easier to find the things you'd like to take care of. And you can see that the information was added. Well, let me turn off the presentation and turn the camera on. So this finalizes this webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, you can email me with them. I could be found at mishan@d-pro.biz, or you can jump into the website insight-sap.com. It was pleasure having you here with me. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.